Hey everyone, welcome back to another episode of Cooking con Amanda. Tonight we are going to be making our skillet brownies with white chocolate chips. I just received my 5.5-inch cast iron skillet set, so that's what we're going to be using tonight. So I'm so excited to receive these, so I've been waiting to make this recipe. So these come pre-seasoned, so we're ready to start cooking right away. But I just wanted to share with you a little bit and what your guide, which is going to come with your pans, will cover is just how you would season them. All that basically just means is you would coat these with a thin layer of cooking oil. I just use regular vegetable oil while they're warm and usually what I do is just wipe them down with oil and put them in a low temp oven and allow that oil to just cook and season the pan. It's going to make it naturally non-stick. These cast iron skillets aren't going to be dishwasher safe. We also don't want to submerge them in water for a long time. When you go to clean them, you're not really going to use a lot of soap. You're just going to use a scrub brush if needed, and then some hot water. But if you use one of your scrapers, which is going to come with your pans, to kind of scrape off any bits, and just some hot water, and then you just want to make sure you really dry them off nicely once you're done, and then put a little bit of oil on them, and then just store them really nice and dry. Either hang them up or store them. I have mine actually on this island on an open cabinet, is where I keep my cast iron, so I will be adding these to that collection. But they will come with a scraper, which will be your main cleaning tool for these. So they're pretty simple to clean up, but all of that will come in your instruction manual. So I'm going to set this over here. But I just wanted to show you, I just use regular store brand olive oil when I go to season my pans, or if I were going to these would make really cute little mini cornbreads. So I would preheat the oil in these pans in the oven prior to making the cornbread so it's nice and crisp. But I would just use the regular vegetable oil, that you would get from the grocery store. So these are pretty simple to put together, and because they're little, they're so cute. Perfect little individual sizes, or two, if you wanted to have a date night kind of dessert. So those, I'm going to set them over here. They're good to go. I don't need to grease them or anything. But what I'm going to do is just run through kind of what we are going to be using, and then the ingredients, and then we'll get these in. This shouldn't take too long. So we're gonna obviously need our 5.5-inch set of the cast iron skillets, which are super cute. We've got our oven heated up to 350 degrees, and that's ready to go. So we'll be using that. The other Pampered Chef items we're gonna use, we're gonna need one of our 2-cup prep bowls that will be holding our flour mixture. We're also using one of our classic batter bowls, which we'll be using to melt our chocolate and then ultimately make the brownie batter. So I just have that sitting back here for space. But we need one of our measurables, which we use to measure all of our dry ingredients. I'm using a couple of our 1-cup prep bowls just to be prepared with our chocolate chips. We'll need a whisk to get our ingredients combined. I have I have the old school one here because my new one is in the dishwasher, but our adjustable measure, that's our teaspoon. I'm going to use our whisk and then also our medium scoop just to help us kind of divide the dough. But in addition to that, another one of the Pampered Chef items that I'm using is actually one of our pantry items. So this is new. That just came out available on the 15th. For everyone to purchase. This is the double strength Madagascar bourbon pure vanilla extract. So this is great. This came out along with 2 versions of our cinnamon, special for the holiday baking season. This is special because you need to use half of the amount that the recipe calls for because it's so potent, I guess. So we're going to half the recipe. I think today calls for a teaspoon, so we'll do a half teaspoon of that. But so this is the first time I'm trying that, but that'll be exciting. I'm looking forward to our holiday baking season coming up and giving that a try. So we're going to be using that when I run through the ingredients. I'll cover that as well. Okay, So now, as far as the other ingredients, what we're gonna need, and I'm gonna talk kind of while I work. We're gonna need 1/4 cup and 1/4 teaspoon of all-purpose flour. So what I have here is our measure-all. I have it adjusted to 1/4 cup. So I'm just gonna fill it up with flour. And then for a 1/4 teaspoon, we need them divided. Is really just to coat the white. We have a 1/4 cup of white chocolate chips. So I'm just gonna go ahead and toss a little flour in there just to save time. But I'll go through that when we get to that. But what I'm gonna do, it's the way my mom taught me how to level off my ingredients. So I've got a paper towel down here, and to level off my flour, just make sure to pat that down, and I'm going to place that in my 2-cup prep bowl. And so, because I have this paper towel, cats, no fighting, I'm able to go ahead and, save the majority of the flour. And now I've got still that paper towel that I can use. Spoon always to get everything else. So that's done with our flour. In addition to that, we're going to need a 1/4 cup of our unsweetened cocoa powder. So I saw a really cute video where a kid tried to eat the cocoa powder. I guess he thought it was like chocolate milk mix, and the reaction on his face was hilarious. And I know their reaction because I've been there, because my mom is evil, and she's played this trick on me with unsweetened pumpkin mix and cocoa. So I love to cook, and I've always loved to cook, like I've said, and definitely my mom has had her fair share of laughs at my expense, because I want to always try out the ingredients. Obviously, I love to eat. So anyway, there's a 1/4 cup of our unsweetened cocoa powder, and again, because we got the paper towel here, it allows us to kind of save most of that cocoa powder. I'm going to clean him off in the sink. There's my wedding ring. Sorry, guys. Grab that. All right. So we're rid of the cocoa powder back here because we're done with him. So you can see there's really not a whole lot of dry ingredients, just because of the size of the pans. So in addition to that, we're going to put in our baking powder, which we need a teaspoon, which is already where we're at on our measure. So we'll get him here. Oh, that's awful. Metal on powder. Okay, here we go. Teaspoon, oh gosh, I got goosebumps, of our baking powder. And then we're also going to need some salt. So we need a 1/4 teaspoon of salt. So I'm just going to adjust here on my adjustable measuring spoon. 1/4 teaspoon. There we go. So that should take care of, what we normally refer to as your dry ingredients. So I'm going to just whisk those together real quick. They're stainless steel whisk. That will come together in a couple seconds. So we've got our dry ingredients ready to go. What we're going to do now is work on the chocolate. So what we've got is a 1/2 cup or 1 stick of unsalted butter. It's cold because it's going to go in the microwave anyway, so it doesn't matter. So just grab that out of the fridge. And so what we're going to do with that is we're going to add 1/2 cup of our semi-sweet chocolate chips to that. And I had those pre-measured in one of our 1-cup prep bowls. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and place this in the microwave. It says to set for a minute and then to stir and see how we're going. So we'll give this a go. Set it for a minute and see how that goes. So what I'm going to grab, here's a mix and scrape. That way we can go ahead and get that scraped down. Now we are gonna need 1/2 cup of granulated sugar. So I'm gonna go ahead and get that ready in our measure all. And you can see I've just adjusted down the height of that measure from a 1/4 cup. I'm gonna bring this over here. Makes more sense. From a 1/4 cup down to a 1/2 cup. So it's pretty easy to adjust there. And, you know, we've measured several items I measured all the chocolate chips using this as well. So it really does help reduce the amount of dishes, you know, that I'm working with. So that's always my goal anyways, to at least try. I'm going to just kind of level him off. I'm not going to worry about trying to save that little tiny bit. I am going to clean up here real quick. Done with our knife and our spoon there. So I'm just going to get those out of our way. Let me grab our chocolate chips. All right. It's looking good. Looks like the butter's definitely melting. Chocolate chips are melting as well. So let's see. Don't know that we'll need to put that back in the microwave. Looks pretty good. So I'm going to set that right here, and we're going to continue. I don't think we need to let that go any longer. So what we're going to do is we are going to take our chocolate. Actually, I'm not going to set it over there because we need it. So let me make sure this is all. So what we're going to do is we're going to whisk in our ingredients to the chocolate mixture. So now we're basically building the brownies from here on out. So I'm going to use my whisk just to make sure I get any lumps out of that butter. Set it down. What a chocolate. And that's perfect. Okay. So everything is great. It's like liquidy, which is exactly what you want. So that's 1/2 and 1/2. So 1/2 cup of chocolate chips, 1/2 cup of unsalted butter. So now what we're going to do is we're going to whisk in our eggs, our sugar, and our vanilla to this. So we have 1/2 cup of granulated sugar. So I'm going to pour that in. Just make sure we got everything out. Just to press down my measure all there. So we're going to whisk that in. And I'm kind of trying to let adding the ingredients like the sugar and the vanilla first to let the eggs cool down a little bit. So we're not, you know, adding super hot, you know, or eggs to super hot mixture. So now we need our vanilla. The recipe does call for a teaspoon. But like I said, because it's our special double strength vanilla, we only need 1/2 teaspoon. So I am going to add 1/2 teaspoon. It smells delicious. It's got a really nice dark rich color. Doesn't look translucent at all. It smells really great. It has a really nice vanilla smell there. So just 1/2 teaspoon of that. We're going to whisk that in. Okay, and then we are going to need 2 eggs. So it's actually not hot much whatsoever. And I am going to reuse this little 1 cup prep bowl that I had for my chocolate chips just to make sure that I don't get any shells. So I'm going to whisk in, I'm going to toss those in the sink. I threw away all my paper towels. So we need 2 eggs. So kind of get those whisked in one at a time. It's going to help to ensure that, you know, it's kind of tempering the chocolate as we go along, so that we're not going to end up with any kind of chocolate scrambled eggs, which would be awful. So I like to crack my eggs into one of those prep bowls to make sure I don't get any shells, because otherwise I will get shells in there. So for me, it's just, you know, I already had my chocolate chips pre-measured, so I might as well reuse it for that. So I'm going to whisk that in. So that's our 2 eggs combined with our chocolate mixture. So just to kind kind of recap, we melted a half a cup of chocolate chips, half a cup of unsalted butter for a minute to allow that to melt, whisk that up. Then I added in, a half a cup of our granulated sugar, 2 whole eggs, and then because we're using the double strength vanilla, I added a half teaspoon. If you were using your normal vanilla, you were going to add a full teaspoon. So now what I'm going to do is take the dry mix that we have from the beginning, which was a 1/4 cup of all-purpose flour, a 1/4 cup of our, pop that in the sink, unsweetened cocoa powder, a teaspoon of our baking powder, and then 1/4 teaspoon of salt. And I like to use kosher salt for my baking, a little bit larger chunks than the iodized salt, like the super fine salt, but really whatever your preference. So brownies, you don't have to mix them a whole lot. So those look pretty well combined with the whisk. That does a nice job of combining those for us. So what I'm going to do is just use our mix and scrape, just to scrape down this bowl to ensure that I don't have anything on the bottom here that's not incorporated. And a couple of reasons why I like this is it has the handle, so it makes it nice and easy to pick it up to, really get a good stir in there to make sure I get everything. And then also so I can see the bottom to make sure I don't have any, random dry spots there as well. So we look pretty good. We've got everything mixed. So now what we're going to do is divide this batter between the 2 skillets. And it says about a cup. Now I had gotten out my scoop because I thought maybe I would need that, but I think this actually, I'm just going to use the batter bowl. It has a really nice handle, like I said, which is perfect for this. And it is, after all, a batter bowl, so it has that nice pour spout on it, which makes it really easy to get your ingredients in. So it said this is going to make approximately, the divided portion is about 1 cup. So looking at like 1 cup per skillet. So I'm just going to kind of level this out, and then we'll see how close I got to dividing it just by eyeballing. You could measure for sure, but I think between, look pretty good. I mean, we're not going to make any adjustments, but the more you kind of play around in the kitchen and get used to it, the easier it'll become to kind of, eyeball those types of things. But super simple fix. If you overfill one, just take a scoop or a spoon or something and, take a little bit out and put it in the others. No big deal. So really can't go wrong. All right, so we've got our, pop them in the sink, and I got chocolate all over my hands. Alrighty, so I'm gonna go ahead and go put the scoop away, sorry. Baking center. So we've got our 2, and these little eggies need to go away too. We'll do that in a second. We've got our brownies here, and so what I've got left is, in this 1 cup prep bowl, is I've just got a 1/4 cup of white chocolate chips, and then I've got, it was a 1/4 of a teaspoon of all-purpose flour. So just basically a sprinkle of flour over the chocolate chips. And the reason we do that, the coating the chocolate chips and flour is going to help them from sinking into the bottom of the batter, so they'll kind of stay on top, so we'll be able to see them. So what we're going to do is just basically divide out these chocolate chips, and I went a little overboard with the flour, so I'm going to try to shake them off a little bit, because what I don't want is I don't want like tons of flour all over the top of my brownies there. Okay. Now, if these bad boys sink to the bottom, I'm going to be really disappointed. There we go. It's better. It's like pouring flour on the top of my brownies. But of course, I mean, you could really mix this up however you wanted. You could exclude the white chocolate chips. I know they're kind of sweet, so not everyone's favorite. Or you could definitely do it with like some dried blueberries would be good on top, or even some nuts if that was your thing. This is the recipe that is available in Pampered Chef, but it's pretty standard brownie recipe, so really you could jazz it up, just do it regular, however you wanted. So there we go. We've got our 2 brownies ready to go. That could have taken way less time if I didn't talk. But what we're going to do is pop these in the preheated oven, like I said, at 350. We're going to let them go for about 25 minutes, just until they're nice and done. We're going to use our cake tester and make sure they come out, it inserts in and comes out clean. And then we're going to let them cool, and then we'll be back and show you the final recipe, hopefully with a special guest. So stay tuned, and I'll talk to you soon.